They told me on the first night never to look at her when she sat up. They told me she would sit up most nights. They told me to keep my back to the table and finish my checks. They never told me what would happen if I turned around. Tonight, I turned around. Let me back up.
I am the night attendant at Larkin & Sons Funeral Home in a town in northern Pennsylvania. I am not going to tell you which town. The job, on paper, is very simple. I sit in the prep room from 10 at night until sunrise. I check the cold storage temperature once an hour and write it down on a clipboard. I check the dehumidifier reservoir. I check the security log on the back door. If a body arrives, I sign for it. If a family member calls, I take a message. Once a year in November, I order new sheets and new disposable shoe covers. That is the job. I do this job because the day operations are run by a small family that lives in an apartment above the funeral home. They cannot have a stranger walking through their kitchen at 2 in the morning, and they cannot leave the prep room unattended after sunset because of the embalming chemicals, the viewing schedules, and what they call the general dignity of the dead. So, they hire someone like me. They pay me for 40 hours a week, and I work 25. And the difference, the supervisor told me on my first night, is for the rules. The rules are the part of the job they pay extra for. The rules are why I'm still telling you about it. The supervisor's name was Patty, Patricia Holloway. She was a small woman in her 70s, white hair and a bun on the back of her head, sweaters buttoned all the way up, no matter the season, glasses on a beaded chain around her neck. She smelled like Aquanet and faint formaldehyde. She had worked at Larkin & Sons since 1986. She told me that on my first night, the way some people tell you their birthday, not bragging, just to mark how long a thing has been true. Patty trained me for 3 nights. On the first night, she walked me through the building. The prep room is in the back of the ground floor. The cold storage is behind the prep room through a heavy steel door. The family viewing parlors are at the front of the building, and the apartment is up a private staircase from a door in the lobby. The whole place smells like new carpet and old wood, and something underneath the carpet that you don't think about. On the second night, she trained me on the temperature log, the security log, and the supply intake. On the third night, before she left for the morning, she sat me down at the desk in the prep room, and she said, "Now I am going to tell you the rules." She said, Rule 1. When you hear her sit up, you do not turn around. You do not look at the prep table. You do not check on her. You sit at this desk with your back to the table and you finish whatever you are working on. Rule 2. You do not say her name out loud in this room after sunset, not even to yourself. Rule 3. You do not leave the prep room between midnight and sunrise. If you have to use the bathroom, you use it before midnight. Rule 4. You do not let her see your face. This is the most important rule. It is also the easiest. If you follow Rule 1, you will never break Rule 4. I asked her who she was. Patty said, "The body on the table. The current one. There is almost always one." She said the current one was Mrs. Lorraine Vinci, 86 years old, died at her kitchen table of a stroke 3 weeks ago. Her daughter brought her in and paid the first week, then stopped paying and stopped answering her phone. There is a court process for unclaimed remains, but it is slow. Larkin & Sons keeps her in cold storage indefinitely. Lorraine, Patty said, sits up most nights around 2:45. Sometimes she stays sat up for an hour. Sometimes she walks around. You will hear it. You will not look. After a while, you stop being scared. After a while, it is just like a coworker. That was the end of training. I want to be honest with you about something. I needed this job. The pay is real. The hours are quiet. And I am old enough that no one else is hiring me for the kind of work I used to do. So I sat in that prep room on my 4th night with my back to the prep table and a sheet over Mrs. Vinci on top of it, and at 2:47 a.m., the sheet rustles. It rustled, the way a sheet rustles when somebody under it shifts their weight. The metal of the prep table springs compressed. Whatever was under the sheet sat up. There was a soft exhale, not really a breath, more like air being slowly pressed out of something that had not moved in a long time. I sat at the desk with my hands flat on the clipboard, and I counted to 100 in my head, and I did not turn around. After a while, the springs decompressed. Whatever had sat up lay back down. I finished my hourly checks. At sunrise, Patty came in, and she said, "She was good tonight?" And I said, "Yes." And she smiled, and she nodded, and she said, "Good." That was night 4. I want you to understand that on night 4, I was scared in the way you are scared on a roller coaster. High, real, but with a seatbelt around it. By night 15, I was not scared anymore. By night 15, what was happening in that prep room behind my back was background noise. Listen, if you're getting anything out of this, the part where what should scare you stops scaring you is when the trouble actually starts. Subscribe if you've ever made friends with something you shouldn't have made friends with. Stay with me, the bad part is coming. Night 5. The breathing behind me got closer. Close enough that I could feel air on the back of my neck. I did not turn around. Night 8. Something rested its hand on the back of my chair. The chair shifted. I felt the small change in weight. I did not turn around. Night 11, she spoke. One word. A name. Ruth. Ruth was my grandmother. She has been dead for 22 years. I had not heard her name spoken out loud since my mother's funeral in 2004. The voice from behind me was not my grandmother's voice. I do not actually remember my grandmother's voice, but it was a voice that knew the name. It said it like a greeting. It said it once, and then it was quiet. That was the only word she said for the next 11 nights. Night 13. She walked. Slow, weighted steps across the linoleum. They circled the desk. They stopped directly behind me. They waited. I sat with my hands on the clipboard, and I did not turn around. And after a long time, the steps walked back to the prep table, and the springs compressed. Night 14. She was still there at sunrise. I heard 2 sets of breathing in the room. One in front of me, where the prep table was, and one behind me, where my chair was. The door from the hallway opened, and Patty came in, and Patty asked if she was good. I said yes. The second breathing, the one behind my chair, stopped at the exact moment Patty's voice reached the room. Night 17. She had moved. I could see her shadow in my peripheral vision when I leaned forward to check the temperature gauge. The shadow was between me and the door. Night 19. My desk lamp went out at 3 a.m. The bulb did not blow. The lamp just stopped giving light. The room was not entirely dark. There is a low yellow service light over the prep table that stays on 24 hours. By that yellow light, looking out of the corner of my eye, I could see a shape standing where the doorway used to be. The shape was wearing the white sheet from the prep table draped over its head. The bottom of the sheet was not touching the floor. I want you to picture that. I do not want to picture it again. The bottom of the sheet was about 4 inches off the linoleum. Night 22. I came in to start my shift, and there was a note on my desk in handwriting that was not mine. The handwriting was old and shaky, written with a felt-tip pen that had bled into the paper. The note said, "Patty is not real. Do not turn around when she comes in at sunrise." I sat at the desk, and I read that note for a long time. Then I folded it, and I put it under the clipboard. I did not write a response. I did not show it to Patty in the morning. When Patty came in and asked if she was good, I said yes, and Patty smiled and nodded and said good, and Patty left, and I went home, and I slept, and I came back the next night, because, as I told you, I needed this job, and by night 22, I had been doing it long enough that the fear and the routine had braided together into the same shape.
Tonight is night 23.
I have been writing this on the back of the temperature log because the prep table has been quiet for the first time since I started. No rustle, no springs, no breathing. I keep checking the temperature gauge. 8 degrees Fahrenheit, the way it always is. And I keep looking at the empty white sheet on the prep table out of the corner of my eye. And the sheet has not moved.
The light over the prep table just went out. I can hear footsteps. They are not coming from where the prep table is. They are coming from behind my desk, from the corner of the room behind me. They walk slowly to where the prep table is. The springs compress. It is not the body sitting up. It is the body sitting down.
The phone on my desk is ringing. The display says Larkin main office. The owner has never called this phone in 23 nights. I am picking up, because if you can hear what I'm hearing and the phone rings, you pick up. The voice on the other end is a man. He sounds about 50. He says his name is Daniel Larkin, and he owns the funeral home. He says the previous night attendant, a woman named Patricia, has been missing for 2 months and they have been trying to reach her. He says the family on the day shift didn't know she had even hired a replacement.
He says, the woman who hired you doesn't work for me. Who hired you?
The door to the prep room. The door I am told never to open between midnight and sunrise. Opens behind me. I can see the hallway light spilling onto the linoleum. I can see, in my peripheral vision, a small figure with white hair in a bun standing in the doorway. She is wearing the cardigan with the buttons all the way up,
the glasses on the beaded chain. She is asking, in Patty's voice, if she was good tonight. I have said yes every morning for 23 mornings. I am realizing now that I was not telling her the body was good. I was telling her she was good. I was telling Patty, who is not Patty, that the woman she has been pretending to be has earned another night. If I say yes one more time, I think she comes all the way in. If I do not say yes, I think she comes all the way in faster. I am writing this on the back of the temperature log, and I am going to slide it under the door of the cold storage in a minute. Because the cold storage door locks from the inside, and the only thing I have left to try is to lock myself in a room with the actual dead people instead of the one pretending to be alive.
If you take a night job in a small-town funeral home, and I know how that sounds, but it happens more than you would think, please make sure the person who hires you actually works there. Ask for a manager. Ask for a contract on company letterhead. Ask to see them sign in at a payroll computer that has someone else's name on it. She's at my shoulder now. I can smell the aquanet. She's leaning down to look at what I'm writing. She's going to ask me one more time.
Do not turn around.